So hello world, welcome to another tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to be making a chat room with Godot. And one of the features of the chat room will be that it has colored text, so stick around for that. And also, if you like this kind of content and you would like to see more in the future, please do consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. And also you can follow my GitHub. I will put the link in the description. The link for this project will also be down there, so you can look it up when you'd like. So let us now get to the tutorial. So what I have in the project currently is basically the layout of the UI of the application, and we have our root node. We've called it main. Then we have a panel that acts like our background. Then we have a VBox container with 3 items inside, a HBox container with a line edit we call username, and 2 buttons, one for hosting and the other one for joining a server. Then we also have a rich text label, and that rich text label has BBcode enabled. BBcode is what we are going to be using to color our text, but we'll talk about that later. Then we also have a HBox container, and this one has a line edit where we are going to be typing our messages, and it also has a button that when you press it, the messages will go. So I can just remove the signal because it's not really in use right now. So now we can get to coding our application. So let us go into a script, and in the script I have already referenced every node that we are going to be using in the project, so you don't really have to watch me type everything from scratch. So we can just move to doing the juicy stuff. So what I will want to do first, of course, is to implement the basic functionality of the chat room, which is, of course, we want to be able to type text and then have it appear in the label. So what we will do is come here to the send button. Then we're going to take its pressed signal. So when we press the send button, we want to do something. And what we want to do once we press the send button is that we will add our text. We'll add whatever text is written here in this line edit to our label. Then we will clear this so that you don't really have to like start pressing backspace or selecting everything so that you can clear. I don't think like many people really notice that, but after you type a text in any chat application, it usually just clears itself, so you don't have to do that. So we'll also be implementing that feature. So let us get scripting. So when we'll come back to our signal, and then we will write. So the message edit, not message edit, the chat area, that's our label. So when we press the send button, our chat area.text will be equal to, or will get added onto our message edit text. Then we will also add a new line delimiter, which is /n. That denotes a new line. So after every text, we are going to be adding a new line. Then we will go to the message edit. Then we'll also change its text to blank, so we'll clear the message. So we can come back here, and then we run our scene. Then when we write text, for example, hello, and then we press send, you can see that it's moved here and then it's going up here. So this is the base function that this is the basic functionality of the chat room. So this is the function we are going to be making we are going to be making multiplayer so that it can run on your machine and on somebody else's machine. One other feature I would like to do also is here, I'll create another variable and call it username. Let's set it to Mogi for now, or you can just set it to anything you'd like. Then I'll just do this. I'll come here and put in square brackets, then I will write a plus, then plus the username. We'll add the username to the string, username, It's called concatenation in coding, by the way, when you attach two strings together. It's called concatenation. So we will concatenate this, a square bracket, then the username, then a closing square bracket, and then a colon and a space, so that we can be able to see which person is sending the text. So we can try this, and you can see it has our name and the text we just sent. So we can move this functionality to another function, the functionality for adding the text specifically, because this one will be running on other people's machine, but the clearing of the message edit will not be happening on another machine, because we don't really want you to type to be typing and then the text in your message box suddenly disappears because somebody else sent a message. So we'll be splitting this function. We'll create another function here called function send or receive message, whichever you'd like. So I can just call it send or receive. I'll just call it receive message, so that, because it's like you're receiving a message from another person. So function receive message, and then we will add in the username of that person and then the message is sent. And then here we can move down a little bit, and then we will send this message, receive message or send message. Then we will pass in our username, and then our message will be our message edit.text. So how this method is currently, it really won't run on somebody else's machine, and in order for us to be able to do that, is we'll have to turn this function into an RPC method. And an RPC method is basically it's just this function, but when you call it, it's going to be run on every other machine. So we're going to turn that into an RPC function like so. So at RPC any peer, and then call local. So it's going to be called locally. This function will be called locally on every machine. So we are going to just change this a bit, because we're not just calling the function, we're calling it as an RPC method. So RPC receive message, and then we're going to pass in our arguments, and the arguments are the username and our message edits text. So we'll pass this here, and then we can remove this. So whenever we call RPC receive message, it will call this function in every machine. So that's how you implement a function that is called on every other machine. So now we can get to actually creating a server and client, so that you can actually be able to send the message, because we can't really run this because there's no server and there's no client to receive the message. So let us get to doing that. So we will first create the host, and how we'll create the host is we'll come here to the host button, and then we'll take its pressed signal. So when we press the host button, we should do something. And what we want to do, let's move this up here. And what we want to do when we press the host button is we create a variable called peer, and then the peer variable will be an init multiplayer peer dot new. So it will be an init multiplayer object, and then that peer will call a method in that peer called create server, because we are hosting, and then we'll give it the port. So port 8080, for example. You can put this into any port on your device, but I'll just use 8080. You can use port 1000, port 100, and any port you'd like. So once we've created that, we can now say that multiplayer peer is equal to the peer we just created. Now we have our working server. So this is all the code you need for creating the server. Then we will also want to do something else, which is we'll hide this button and this, and we'll hide, let's just hide everything because you really won't be changing your username. But what I want, you can also implement that feature of course if you'd like, but if for this one we won't be doing that. So what we want to do next here in the code is we'll get the username and set it, and then we'll just hide the host button and the join button because we are already hosting. We press the host button, we already have the server on, so we won't be needing it. So we'll just hide these two buttons. And also, of course, you can't join the server if you are the server itself. So we'll be hiding these two buttons, and then we will be alerting everybody that, hey, somebody has joined the server. So, or the server has been created. So let us implement that functionality. So we'll create another function for everybody, and let's call it joined, and this one will just run locally. So we'll just call the function here, and in the joined function what we'll do is we'll take our host button. I already referenced it in the notes, so I don't really have to write that long path. So host button dot visible is false, and then the join button dot visible is also equal to false. Then we want to send a message. So also before we do that, let's just come here and then we'll remove this. Then we'll say username is equal to our line edit, what was the username edit dot text. So we are hiding these two buttons, and then we're setting our username to whatever the person has written on the username box. So username edit is equal to username text. And what we want to do next is we'll send an RPC method, or we'll call our method receive message to add a text, let's say by the server. The username of whatever sending this message is the server, and then we will pass in a string which is our username, then joined the server. So whenever somebody joins the chat room, it's going to say, or let's say join the room, because yeah, you join the server, you join the room, it's just the same thing, synonymous. So when we join, it's going to send a message to every device that it's going to update its UI, and then it's going to pass in their username, and then let's add a space there, join the room. So now let us create some clients, or we can just test this. We can test this. So let's run the scene, and then we can write here our username and press host, and it's written server, but it did not put in our message, and that's because we didn't change that over here. So let's change this, because this is an overlapping variable, because it's over here and over here. So we can just maybe add an underscore over here so that it doesn't print out our username but the other person's username. And then we won't be adding our message edit.text. We will be adding the message. We'll be adding this message that has been sent by the client or the server. So what it was doing before, it was adding the message in this line edit over here, but it was empty, so that's why it appeared blank. So we are going to be changing that. We change that to the message that we sent over here, and then we are going to see our text. So let's run the scene again, and then let's write in our username and then host, and then we can see server Omogi joined the server room. So now we can get to adding clients, and how we'll do that, of course, is to go to the join button, and then we will select its pressed signal. So on join pressed, when we press that button, we want to create another peer. So let's go down here, and then we will just do basically the same thing we did here. So var peer is equal to init multiplayer peer.new, and then we'll just write peer.create client rather than server, because this, of course, it's a client who's joining the server. Then our address, our IP, in this, the first argument in this function is the IP address. Of course, if you have the production code of this, you will write in the actual IP of your server. But for this tutorial, we're just going to serve everything locally. So we'll use our local IP serving IPs, which is 127.0.0.1.1. So this one is the local IP when you're serving things in your own laptop. So you can test your server and stuff. It's 127.0.0.1, and then we will pass in a port, and the port has to be the exact same port you created your server on. So we'll just copy that and pass it in here. Then you can also put in other arguments like the but we won't be needing those. We'll just leave it there. And then we will set our multiplayer peer to the peer we just made here, and then we will run our join function. So now we have a client that will join our server. So when we run the join function for the client, it will also hide their host button and their join button, and then it will set their username, and then it will say whoever joined the room. So let us try this. And also, yeah, okay, let us try this. We want to run 2 scenes so that we can send from the data from one service or one peer to another. And how we'll be able to do that is we'll come here to debug rather, and then we'll come here to customize run instances, and then we'll write enable multiple instances. Then we'll change this to 2, so we can have 2 instances of the scene running at the same time. Then we'll press OK, and then we can run this. So when we run this, you'll notice that we now have two scenes running, or 2 projects running, so we can be able to send data from one to the other. So let us do this. Let's write in our username, and then we can press host over here, and then you'll notice that nothing happened on the other client. That's because we really haven't joined the server yet. So let's press join, and something's wrong. Something is wrong. You should be getting a text. I'm not sure why we're not getting a text here. Let's go back to our code. So joined our multiplayer peer. So let's try this again. Or the debug. Let's come to this. I think there's an error. Session 2. Trying to call an RPC via a multiplayer peer which is not connected. So the issue here is that when we join the server, we actually have to wait for the client to join the server and for the connection to be successful, so that we can actually call our RPC method on the other machine. So we'll just come here on our joined joined pressed function, of course. Yeah. Then we'll set our multiplayer we'll connect our signal let's connect our signal connected to server. You saw that signal over there, so connected to server. So we'll connect our signal connected to server to our self.joined method or function, and then we'll just remove this here. So what this is that when the connection is successful, so when we've connected to the server, is when we're actually going to call this function. So we can't call this function this RPC method if there is no connection yet. So this is what this is doing basically. So yeah, we can now just run the scenes again. And then we'll move this to the right, left, and this one to the right. We can write in our username, and then we'll write this one over here. Then I can host this, and then I can join. And you can see now that we have been able to send that Codes has joined the room and Omogi has joined the room. Of course, there was nobody in the room at first, so it only appeared in the server. But now there's somebody else, and when we send a text, for example here, hello, you can see that it appears in the other client, and then if we send it here, you can see that the data is passing between the two clients. So we can now move to coloring and getting everything colored. So we can just close our scenes. And then we will come here. We are going to implement that coloring feature here, and we will be using BBcode. BBcode is short for Bulletin Board Code, which is markup like HTML, but instead of using angled brackets, it uses square brackets like this. So for example, you can maybe write something like B for bold, then you can write hello, then you can close it like that. So it's basically like HTML, but instead of writing it things like this, you write them with angled brackets. It was created in 19 something, and they use it in internet forums to make their text look better. So this is what we will be using to color our text in the rich text edit node. So let us come here, and then we'll be implementing that feature. So we're going to write some if statements. So let's write here. So if the username is equal to the server, so pass. So if this username that we are receiving is equal to the server, so for example, when we're writing, when the username is server, for example, here, when we're joining the server, we are going to be, oh, we can also do this, RPC received message. So when we can see when the server is created. Then we'll just write here server. You are now, or you can just say server was hosted or hosting, whatever. We can just write something. So hosting. And then I also forgot to do this here and to also add that there. Oh, actually no, this one is in the method itself, so we don't really need to do that. So if, for example, in these two messages where the username is server, we can create a variable here called color. So variable color is equal to nothing for now. So if the variable is server, we can set our color to maybe red, and then we will come and implement our BBcode here. So we'll just come out here in a bit, and then we'll add in another set of quotes, and then we will we will, oh, there's supposed to be one more quote there. So we'll add in an opening square bracket, and then we'll write in color is equal to, and then we will put in a plus the color we picked over here, and then we will write in a plus, or we can just move in here, then we can close that square bracket, and then at the end of our message we can come in here, and then we will just create our closing tag. Not bold, it was supposed to be color. And then they said an expression literal was found at the end of the statement. Yeah, so this is supposed to be a plus. Yeah, so Basically what we're doing is we're creating a BB code that looks like this. So we have our B, so color is equal to, for example, red if it's the server. So color equal to red. And then we have our name. So the name is server. And then we colon quote and then our message. And then we close this closing tag. So color. So this is basically what we're writing. And if you do this and you have BBcode enabled, you will see that all of this text in those tags will be red. And then this ones will be hidden, of course. But if you have the BBcode off, you will actually be able to see the BBcode itself. So let's test our scene to see if the color will be red. So we can run this. And then we can move this to the left, this one to the right. Then we can write in our name and press host. And you can see that our text is now red. So we will also implement this for other chats. So we will say if, you can also use hexadecimal in the color property. So I'll just choose a slightly blue and a slightly green color. So if we are the one sending the text, our color will be slightly blue, and if somebody else it's somebody else text, it will be green. Of course, you can play around with this and use IDs and maybe enable somebody to pick his own color, but we will just do something simple. So if username is not equal to the username property we have here, so pass. So if the username of the person who is sending the message is not equal to our username, we will change the color to slightly green. So color is equal to hashtag 00 A4EB or EBA4. Yeah, this is slightly green. And then we can change this to 00A4EB. So if we are the person sending the text, or by default we are the person sending the text, so the color will be slightly blue for us. And if the message is from somebody else, the color will be slightly green. If it's the server, of course, it will be red. So let us test our chat room. This to the left, move this to the right, write in our username, host, green, write in our username over here, join, and then we can send our message. So hello, send. So when we send the message, it's blue. When they receive it on their end, it's green. And if we write here, hi, it's blue on our side and green on theirs. So we can just continue writing lots of random stuff, and we can just play around with our scene, and it's working fine. We have our colored text and a chat room. So we can just close this. Oh, also, if you want to see the BBcode itself, before I finish, you can just come here and close BBcode. You can disable the BBcode, and then you can run our scene. So if we write our username and then we host, we can see color is red for the server, and then join the room, and then we have our closing BB tag. And then let's move this to the left, that to the right, and then we can write here codes. Then we can join the server, and you can see if the server color red, and then if we write here hello, send our message, we have a slightly blue or slightly green. And then if we write on the other side, slightly blue, slightly green. So you can enable the BBcode again so that you can have your color text back. And that is how you make a chat room with color text in Godot. And this is the end of the tutorial. So if you like this kind of content and you would like to see more in the future, please do consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And also you can find the link to the GitHub of this project in the description. You can also follow my GitHub and start a couple of repositories there. I have some good content over there. And yeah, Thank you for watching to the end of the video, and goodbye.